One state leader to a national leader, Boris Johnson in the UK. Now, we spent a lot of time, understandably, paying attention to the wobbliness that is Joe Biden. Might be time for somebody to send a doc to number 10. This was his actual speech today at some conference, but this is what he said.
I don't know if you've been to Peppa Pig World. Who's been to, hands up anyone who's been to Peppa Pig World? Not enough. I was a bit hazy what I would find at Peppa Pig World, but I loved it. And Peppa Pig World is very much my kind of place. It has very safe streets.
And then he just lost his place entirely.
Forgive me. Forgive me. Forgive me.
I love that. Nigel Farage, of course, the Brexit campaigner, the leader, the straight talker. We always join on a Tuesday night. Thanks for being a bit more patient to be later than usual. Forgive me. Forgive me.
Good evening.
What the
Good
heck
evening.
was that?
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. The wheels are falling off the Boris bandwagon, aren't they? Dishevelled, disorganised in appearance, but equally, that speech was a complete disaster. But here's the funny thing. So Boris has always done this act where he sort of ruffles his hair and spouts a load of nonsense, and everyone laughs. But you know what? With Peppa Pig yesterday, we're not laughing anymore. We've stopped laughing. We've started cringing. And that's a real problem for the Prime Minister. And you can feel the support of his colleagues, the support of much of the media is really beginning to melt away, and quite quickly too.
Yeah, I mean, take your pick for all the different reasons why, and again, sort of, I won't get into the minutiae with the audience, but there's been scandals in the UK about basically looking the other way as people had side jobs while in politics. He sort of danced through that. He made big promises about rail systems for the north that are not going to actually be delivered on, and even if they are, it's 400 years away, when Greta Thunberg is, still 200 or something. So all of that on top of, again, the Glasgow failures, the truck driving stuff, all the rest of it, right? That just whatever shine there was on the bloke is really gone. Yeah. And he's lucky he's got the buffer that he does. Otherwise, there would be a leadership scenario just like May copped before the last one.
Well, that's right. And I mean, there was a vote last night in Parliament, and this was to do with, how we deal with elderly people and how much families pay. And his majority last night was down to the 20s, when he's actually got a majority of 80. So you can see the rebellion is growing by the day. But I'll predict the issue that could literally finish him is what's happening in the English Channel. For 20 months, I've gone out onto the English Channel, I've documented the illegal migrants coming across in dinghies. I've predicted all the way through this would get worse and worse because effectively there's a sign on the White Cliffs of Dover saying, all welcome, 4-star hotel awaits you. And this is the one that is now driving people nuts. Boris is there because he went for Brexit, right? Whether he believed in it's a separate issue, but he went for Brexit. And those voters, those Brexit voters, voted to take back control of our borders. And right now, we see them being abused, we see the country being humiliated, and that is what I think ultimately, yes, you're right about all the other stuff, the sleaze stuff, the Northern Railway line, all of that's true. But ultimately, if this man cannot stop tens of thousands of undocumented young males coming into this country and posing a genuine security threat, then he is toast.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you've talked about here on your own show, of course, about that problem. And that's fundamental, right? I agree with you that it is above all of those other things that I mentioned, because when the country went through the trauma that it went through of standing up on its own 2 feet saying, bugger this, we'll determine everything, it was about borders. It's always been about borders. And to see people puncturing those borders and not seeing a government aggressively responding to it, now they can give us a million reasons why, from, you know, the choppy seas to the weather to they don't want to annoy people in Brussels. Bugger all of that. People want their borders fortified.
Yeah, they do in any circumstances. But, you know, we've just had a fortnight ago, a suicide bomber, you know, who attempted to get into a hospital, a maternity hospital. It's difficult to believe, isn't it? Somebody who was a radical Islamist fanatic who had come to Britain illegally, right, 7 years ago, applied for asylum, been rejected more than once, and was still in the country. And yet, despite the shock of all of that, still, on a calm day in the Channel, hundreds, and I mean hundreds, of undocumented young men from all over the world come in. They have no passports, they have no ID, yet we still accept them, allow them to stay, put them in 4-star hotels, give them 3 square meals a day, dental care, medical care, and £40 a week spending money. Is it any wonder they keep coming?
Yeah, just last one here too. JK Rowling, you know, for the crime of suggesting that women are women and that has some inalienable rights, she's of course been trawled uphill, down dale. If she's cancelled, she gets to live in a castle, so it's not going to be like most people who get cancelled. But the types of vile threats and the death threats and the relentlessness, and now people have put out where she lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know something? There are extremists in lots of little groups around the place. It seems that the trans rights extremists are some of the worst and the most aggressive and the most hectoring and bullying of the lot. And I feel very sorry for JK Rowling. I mean, it's just extraordinary. There was a big celebratory get-together recently, and all the actors were there from the films, and she wasn't even invited to a party celebrating her own books. And now these vile people have put her address out in full public view, virtually encouraging people to commit unpleasant acts against the property and perhaps even against the person. It's not too far away from incitement. It is dreadful, utterly dreadful. Funny, isn't it? The law doesn't seem to apply, does it? You know, if somebody who was seen to be a white nationalist did the same thing to a black person, I mean, they'd be in prison, the police would be round, they'd be in handcuffs. And yet, for some reason, you know, the trans rights extremists can threaten a well-known, successful public figure in this way, and nothing, and I mean nothing, gets done.
It's extraordinary. Nigel, so good to talk to you. Looking forward to doing it a little bit earlier, back where we should have you, on a Tuesday night here in Australia. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
He's a good man. Nigel Farage, absolutely ripping in. I love having a chat with him every Tuesday night.